Oh, hello there. It's Linda here at Just For Tummies. Now, one of the most common enquiries we get at Just For Tummies is from people who suffer with bloating, sometimes quite uncomfortable, painful bloating. And anyone who contacts us with this symptom, we always ask if they are taking a drug called a proton pump inhibitor. PPI for short. And PPIs are things like omeprazole, lansoprazole, and esomeprazole. And the reason we ask this question when someone is contacts us suffering with bloating is because of the connection between taking a PPI every day, long term, sometimes for years, can increase the risk of getting persistent, uncomfortable bloating. And the reason why is proton pump inhibitor drugs are designed to dramatically reduce the amount of stomach acid that you have in your stomach. And the reason that GPs and gastroenterologists sometimes prescribe PPIs is because the individual, the patient, may be suffering with acid reflux. So that's where the acid in the stomach and acid drenched food is regurgitating up out of the stomach into the esophagus and causing irritation, inflammation, and literally burning the lining of the esophagus. So the tissues that line the esophagus are very different to the tissues that line the stomach. The stomach has a thick mucosal lining, and this protects it against against stomach acid burning it. And it's sometimes when that thick mucosal lining begins to degrade that the acid then can burn the lining of the stomach and cause a stomach ulcer. But the last thing you want to happen is that acid regurgitating out of your stomach up into your esophagus, because those tissues, those cells that line the esophagus, as I said, are very different to the ones that line the stomach, and they can be easily irritated, inflamed, and literally burned by stomach acid. And this can lead to conditions like esophagitis, which is inflammation of the esophagus, and Barrett's esophagus. And Barrett's esophagus is where the cells that line the esophagus have changed, and there is an increased risk with Barrett's esophagus of developing esophageal cancer. So, under no circumstances should acid be regurgitating out of the stomach up the esophagus. And that is why some GPs and gastros put people who have acid reflux on to a PPI. And very often they'll put you on a PPI for, say, a month to see if your symptoms subside. But we tend to find from people who contact us that they've been taking a PPI for months and months, and sometimes years and years. We've had people contacting us who have taken a PPI sometimes 10 years or more. And they suffer with bloating and they can't understand why they get so bloated. So what you have to remember is, what is the function of stomach acid? Stomach acid helps to digest your food, in particular proteins, animal protein. But stomach acid is also there to protect your body, from getting a parasitic infection, a bacterial infection, or a virus. So stomach acid acts like a kind of bleach, and it nukes the pathogen in the stomach before it's had chance to get into the gut. If a parasite gets through the stomach into the gut, it can then penetrate the gut wall, and it can transport itself to any organ in the body, including the liver and the brain. So you see why it's important to have stomach acid. To help stop such infections and such parasitic infections. So, if you are taking a PPI and you are getting bloated, then it's because your food is not being properly digested. So, there's lots of gas, uncomfortable gas being produced, and this gas causes an expansion in your intestines, but also it irritates the lining because your food is not being properly digested. This can irritate the lining of your intestines and cause them to swell, and that causes expansion as well. So you've got excess gas there, you've got irritation in the lining of your bowel causing expansion, and that can push up into your diaphragm and incidentally also cause acid regurgitation. So it's very important to try and resolve the bloating. When people contact us and they suffer with bloating and they're taking a PPI, we always recommend an initial 30-day course of live bacteria and digestive enzymes. If they're not eating oily fish at least twice, 3 times a week, and they're not eating garlic, we may suggest our 30-day perfect balance kit that's got 4 supplements: live bacteria, probiotics, digestive enzymes, high strength low odor garlic tablets, and high strength omega-3 capsules. We may recommend the kit. It just depends on what your diet is like, lifestyle, medications, age, symptoms, which is what makes Just For Tummies very different from other supplement companies, because we match supplements to symptoms. But the point, let me get back to the point because I can digress sometimes and lose my thread. The point of this video is to point out that if you're taking a proton pump inhibitor regularly, daily, and you've been taking one for a long time and you're getting uncomfortable gassy bloating, then that could be the connection. Now, I'm not saying that you have to stop taking your PPI. Of course I'm not. And when we work with people who want to withdraw from taking their PPI, we always recommend that they go and speak to their GP first, because we haven't got their medical records. We don't know why they were put on the PPI in the first place. They may have had an endoscopy and it's shown up esophagitis or Barrett's esophagus. We don't know that. So you always go and speak to your GP and have a conversation around withdrawing from the PPI and transitioning on to natural supplements. But if you have Barrett's esophagus, then you must stay on your PPI, because you really cannot afford to have that acid regurgitating and burning the lining of your esophagus. So that's all I want to say on that subject. If you've got any questions, then we're here to help you. If you are concerned and you want to maybe come off your PPI, then, as I said, contact us, but we will first of all recommend that you have a conversation with your GP to ensure it's safe for you to begin gradually. You don't just stop taking your PPI, otherwise you may get really unpleasant acid rebound. Gradually wean yourself off your PPI. Okay, hope that helps, and take care. Bye for now.